You pull up to the pump, and the number on the screen climbs faster than you can process it. $50, gone, for a tank of liquid you'll burn through in a week. It feels like someone somewhere is just deciding what number to charge you today. And in a way, someone is, but not in the way you'd think. That price is actually built from a dozen different pieces stacked on top of each other, and most of them have almost nothing to do with the gas station itself. Let's take that number apart, piece by piece, and see where your money actually goes. Most people assume gas prices are basically random, or the gas stations are just marking up fuel however they feel like. Neither is really true. A gallon of gas is one of the most tightly tracked, thinly margined products you'll ever buy. And the price you see is the end result of a chain that stretches back to oil fields on the other side of the planet. Let's follow that chain from the ground up and find out exactly who gets paid at each step. The single biggest piece of your gas price, usually well over half of it, is the cost of crude oil itself, the raw, unrefined liquid pumped out of the ground. And here's the part that surprises people. Crude oil is priced on a global market, not a local one. It doesn't matter if the gas station down the street gets its oil from a well 200 miles away or 2 oceans away. The price is set by global supply and demand, the same benchmark price the entire world roughly follows. That means a war on one continent, a production cut agreed to by a handful of oil-producing nations, or a hurricane shutting down drilling rigs in one region can nudge the price you pay at a pump that has nothing to do with any of those places. You're not just buying local gas, you're buying a tiny slice of an enormous, constantly shifting global market. Crude oil isn't gasoline yet. It has to be refined, a process that separates and transforms it into the fuel that actually works in your car. That refining step adds its own cost, and it's surprisingly sensitive to small disruptions. A single refinery going offline for maintenance or getting knocked out by a storm can tighten supply in an entire region and push prices up locally, even while crude oil prices stay exactly the same. After refining, the gasoline still has to physically get to your gas station by pipeline, ship, rail, or truck, often through multiple steps before it reaches a local storage terminal and finally your neighborhood pump. Every one of those steps costs money, and every one of them can be disrupted independently. This is why gas prices can vary so much between neighboring regions, even in the same country. Refining capacity and distribution routes simply aren't the same everywhere. Next comes tax. And this is where prices can shift wildly depending on where you live. Governments add fuel taxes on top of the base price, often to fund road construction and maintenance, and the rate varies enormously from one place to another. 2 gas stations less than a mile apart, on opposite sides of a regional border, can post noticeably different prices for the exact same fuel, purely because of which tax zone they happen to sit in. And finally, after crude oil, refining, distribution, and tax all take their cut, what's left for the gas station itself is razor thin. Industry data consistently shows gas stations often earn just a few cents of profit per gallon, sometimes less than the cost of the cup of coffee they sell you at the counter. Many stations actually rely more on selling snacks and drinks inside than on the fuel out front. The pump price feels like it's all going to the station. In reality, the station is often the smallest slice of the entire pie. And here's the twist that annoys almost everyone. Prices seem to shoot up overnight, but crawl back down at a snail's pace. This isn't your imagination, and it isn't really a conspiracy either. Economists have a name for it: rocket and feather pricing. When crude oil costs rise, stations pass that cost on almost immediately because they're still paying today's higher price for their next delivery and don't want to sell at a loss. But when crude oil costs fall, stations are often still sitting on fuel they bought at the old, higher price, so they lower prices slowly, holding on to the bigger margin for as long as customers will tolerate it before competitors force their hand. It isn't usually a secret meeting where everyone agrees to squeeze you. It's simpler and almost more unsettling than that. Every station is quietly acting in its own self-interest, and the accumulated effect looks exactly like a rocket going up and a feather drifting down. So the next time that number on the pump climbs higher than you expected, remember it's not one number. It's crude oil prices set on the other side of the planet, a refinery hundreds of miles away, a truck route, a tax line drawn by your local government, and a gas station holding on to the last few cents it can. Almost none of it is in any single person's control, and almost all of it is completely invisible at the pump. So what do you think? Should gas prices be more transparent, or is this just what a global commodity market always looks like? Tell me below. If this helped it click, subscribe. Every week, Otto breaks down how the world actually works. Next time, how free apps make money off you, even when you never pay a cent. See you then.